So we should be, and by the test, looks like you guys are pretty familiar with how to use the quadratic formula to solve equations. Now, when we solve, we may get one answer, two answers, or maybe no answer, no solution. Okay? Those refer to the nature of the roots. Remember I said the solutions to any equation, another word we can use for solutions are roots. Don't confuse that with square root or cube root. So the roots just mean the same thing as solutions. So all we're asked to find in this case, well, first of all, we're asked to find we're asked to find the roots. So we're asked to solve. Okay. All of them we're going to use the quadratic formula, even though one of them you don't necessarily have to. So this one, if we use the quadratic formula, x equals negative b. So negative 6 becomes positive 6. Plus or minus negative 6 in parentheses. Remember, if there's a negative, put parentheses. Minus 4 times a, which in this case is 1, times b, which in this case is all divided by 2 times 1. Okay. So we just keep going. Plus or minus 36 minus 20. Keep going. 6 plus or minus root 16 over 2. And in this one, we happen to be able to take the square root of 16 exactly. So I get 6 plus or minus 4 over 2. There was a similar question to this on the test. Many of you stopped here. You can keep going. You can actually do 6 plus 4 by 2, which will give you an answer of 5. And you can go back to this one and do 6 minus 4 and divide that by 2. And that's going to give you an answer of 2 divided 2, which is 1. So you have to keep going. So we see the solutions are 5 and 1, which means there are 2 roots. Next one. Using the quadratic formula, although this one could be factored. Again, I get 6 plus or minus. Again, I get negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1, but in this case, c is 9, not 5. Over 2 times a, which is 2. 6 plus or minus, well, negative 6 squared is 36, minus 4 times 1 times 9 is 36, over 2.
Well, that base 36 minus 36 is 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. And 6 plus nothing is 6. 6 minus nothing is 6. So really, when this works out to 0, you just cancel this whole thing out, plus and minus included. Your answer is 6 divided 2, which is 3. So in this one, wonder. Only one answer, one solution. Finally, you can probably guess how many roots this is going to work out to. X equals, well, we've got negative 6, so 6 again, plus or minus negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1, losing space here, times 13. All over 2 times a, which is 2. So 6 plus or minus 36 minus 4 times 1 times 13, which gives me 52. Which is going to give me a negative under the square root. Which means I can automatically stop the question because it's impossible to continue. Because it's impossible to do this. Therefore, it's impossible to get any answers, any roots, which means there are no roots. There's no solution for zero roots. Now, what if I just asked you guys, instead of solving it, I just asked you, okay, so here's an equation. Tell me how many roots this has. How many solutions? Does it have 2? Does it have 1? Does it have 9? And notice we use the quadratic formula. Notice anything in the steps that I did that can tell me how many solutions there will be? What happened when there was only one solution? What happened that looked sort of different? We got 0 under the square root. What happened when there was no solutions or no roots? We got a negative under. So it seems to be whatever's happening under the square root tells me how many answers there are going to be. If the answer is positive under a square root, there's going to be 2. If it's 0, there's going to be 1. If it's negative, there's going to be none. So it's that whole thing under the square root in the quadratic formula. That whole b squared minus 4ac thing. Okay? So the value under the radical sign determines the number of solutions or roots. Remember, those words are interchangeable. And that expression under the radical sign, the b squared minus 4ac, actually has a certain name. We call it the discriminant. Discriminant. And we saw what happens on the previous page. Whatever if the value of the discriminant takes on certain, if the discriminant value takes on certain values, there's two solutions. If it takes on another value, there's one solution. If it takes on other values, there's no solutions. So if b squared minus 4ac worked out to less than 0, how many solutions? It's less than 0. None. I know I'm writing it in a slightly different order. 0 roots. If the discriminant worked out to exactly 0, how many solutions? 1. If it worked out to some number greater than 0, there would be 2. So, a couple of examples that deal with the concept of discriminants. Well, you could be asked to calculate. Okay, whenever you see this phrase, the nature of the roots, this means the same as how many roots. Nature of the roots just means is there one of them, or there none, or there 2. So for all of these, we use the discriminant. We don't have to solve the whole thing to figure out how many solutions there are. We only have to figure out this portion under the square root sign of the quadratic formula. So what's the e in this case? Negative 12. So we're going to square that negative 12, and then we're going to subtract 4 times a, which is 4, times c, which is 9. And what's going to happen here is you're going to get 144 minus 144, which obviously equals 0. How many roots? 1. See if you can figure out the next 2. Okay, so for this one, we would get 5 squared, and you can put parentheses for 5, that's fine. Minus 4 times negative 3 times positive 6. So that to me looks like it's going to give me a positive answer already, because it's going to be 25. 2 negatives make a positive, so that's going to be 72, which gives me 96. 97, pardon me. How many roots? 2 roots. So probably guess what's going to happen on the last one. Negative b, which in this case is negative 2, parentheses, squared, minus 4 times 1 times 3, which is going to give me 4 minus 12, which is going to give me a negative answer. Really, I don't care what the answer is. I only care that it's negative, because it tells me that there are no solutions, or there are no roots, or 0 roots. And this last one, just sort of a little twist on the discriminant, make you think a little bit. What value of k will this equation have one real root? Somehow I have to use the discriminant. What does the discriminant equal? When there's one real root? 25. What does the discriminant equal when there's one answer, one solution? 0. I see what you did. You completed the square, which actually is right, will work. You gave me the final answer. Well, what's B? 10. What's A? 1. What's C? K. Well, I just created an equation that I can solve for K. So 100 minus 4K is going to equal 0 when I simplify. Take the 100 over to the other side, and I get negative 4K equals negative 100. Divide both sides by negative 4, and I get K equal to 25. Okay. I mean, I could have asked you for what value of K would it have more, two roots. Then you'd have to put a greater than sign. Do you remember how to solve those? But we're not going to worry about that. Okay.